Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Blender Today Live, everyday live. It's a kind of a mix of learning what's new in Blender, plus also learning about what people are doing in their own workflows. Today is a Sculpt special. I got 3 guests again, a mix of artists and developers and all sorts of things. Yeah, who does one things only nowadays? No one. Let's almost get started with it. I had a small announcement that I have to do. It's that the Blender Conference LA got just cancelled. So that is well, we all know why. Like every other big conference was cancelled. So that's the only downside. But besides that, let's go back into let's go back to what's new, because we are going to talk about Sculpt, and what better than the Sculpt person himself. Pablo Dobarro is here live. Hello, Pablo. How are ya?
I'm fine, thank you.
You work from home, so actually this quarantine hasn't really made a big difference for you, right?
I'm used to this.
You're used to this. Okay, so today we're gonna talk to you about your development side, but also the art side, a bit of everything. Maybe you can spoil us some of the new things that are coming up for Blender 2.9, because 2.83 is old already, and you already gave us a little bit of a hint of the new things. So besides that, let's go more to the other users, more of the artistic side, a bit closer here in Amsterdam. My next guest is Julian Kasper. Hey,
hello.
How are ya?
Hi. Thanks for having me back.
Yes, you're a local here. You are here in Amsterdam, but we're also working from home. He works at the you probably know already. He works at the Blender Animation Studio. But today, you know, it's like a special occasion. You got healthy around there and a cat. So if you get the cat over, we're gonna break the viewer count. No, you don't have to right now. So okay, though Julian works on character design, development, modeling, and sculpting, especially. We're also involved with like the Sculpt team, right? You talk with the developers. You are involved in the actual development, but from an artist point of view, it's really valuable to have you at the Blender studio for that. But our next guest is not even in this country, or not even in this union. Maybe it's too soon to talk about the European Union. Okay, so our next guest, everybody knows him, is a rock star. He's been at the Blender conference before. He's Jama. Hello, Jama.
Hey guys.
Hello.
Nice to meet you again. Thanks for inviting me. Well, I'm probably gonna be the least familiar with sculpting in this room, but I'm okay with that.
No, but that's even better.
We can turn it into Q&A session, mainly me asking, well, how do you do this? How do you do that?
Exactly. Like you have a guy that works with the developers developing it, and you have the guy that made the sculpt mode in Blender as we know it right now, plus multi-res, plus post brush, call-off brush. So really, you can make it like a Q&A for yourself. But we also have a Q&A for people in the community, of course. Our guests always get to answer the latest updates and the latest questions. There's a thread here on the Sculpt special thread on blender.community where you can get your questions answered. Let's try to keep them Sculpt related and workflow related, right? I'm gonna need to make another video for the actual Q&As. This Friday, I think I'm gonna make it like a tradition. I'm gonna get developers over for making it for just Q&A, just answering questions. In the last episode, it was amazing on the last on Monday. So okay, it's Friday. Today's Monday. Does anybody has issues with what day is it and what time is it?
Losing all track of time.
Yeah. Jama, do you work from home or you?
I always work from home, so no difference for me. It's just another day for me.
It's just no toilet paper on the stores. That's the only difference.
Well, we got some toilet paper, so
okay. In the stores also.
I think it's back. Yeah, I saw the news. It was like
Like
main
what?
news on BBC. The toilet papers are bad. So
And that's breaking news.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know why people go to the toilet more often during a breakout, but okay. Anyway, let's go to what matters here: sculpting. So let's see. I think it's a very nice mix here of people using Blender sculpting for ages, for years, and also to people that are relatively starting. Jama, when did you start using sculpting? Why did you even try it? Right? You were using Grease Pencil before.
No, I use sculpting a lot. Actually, like
In Blender.
Yes, I think sculpting in Blender, this is the first thing I ever started, because I when I was in Jurassic World, I had to do a lot of dinosaurs, and for some reason, like not for some reason, I can like explain this during my talk last year. I had to do like some dinosaurs, and I had to rig them and also sculpt, and then Blender looked like the only place where you can actually do them both. So I started doing that maybe back 4 years ago. So on and off, but obviously my problem was, like Anna always was very open about it, I could never push like the detail level too much in Blender, just because it wasn't good enough. But with most recent updates, it's just getting better and better, so I'm very optimistic about it.
Yeah, well, I see where you're pushing the details. This style that you're doing on your latest sculpts, it's crazy. Is this something that you haven't tried before? You tried it and you couldn't push it before?
Well, actually, because I couldn't push details in sculpting, I started doing most of my details with textures, and this is like even it happened precisely exactly like with models I did for Jurassic World. I just did the basic models, which were like decent sculpting, but they didn't have the final kind of finish detail that I wanted. So I started using that, like implementing that detail with textures, and since then I kind of figured out, because I'm a concept artist, I'm not a sculptor exactly. Like most of the time, the stuff I need is just a render, and how I get it doesn't matter. So I don't need to show like 360 turntables or anything like that. Yeah. So if there was no point for me to do the amount of detail that I can do with textures, and I found this golden kind of mean where I pushed my sculpting towards the certain point when it starts becoming too heavy, and I switch over to textures. So my workflow is usually a combination of those. But what is interesting that back in the days I would use Keyshot, which is also a fantastic software, but obviously you get bumps and stuff like that, but you never get a very properly displaced surface. Yeah. At least back in the days when I was using it. And then I started playing with displacement in Blender, and I was like, oh my god, this is mind blowing. Because you can it's fast, and also you can procedurally map it. You don't need UVs, and it just like seamlessly combines it. Like you can do blending between like box projections and stuff like that. Yeah, it's fantastic. And I actually love doing my details with textures, because especially like this is something that I experienced when doing like dinosaurs, for example. Yeah, you can do your texture, like your micro detail pass with alphas, right? For example, in ZBrush. Let's say you pick up like a dinosaur skin and you sculpt it, right?
Yeah.
But let's say director would look at it and he would go like, hey, I like this scale texture, but it's too big. And you go, oh my god! Now you have to resculpt everything, basically.
It's I'm looking at some of the artwork that you made.
Yeah.
Recently, and it's funny how all the renders just looked amazing. They're all like same level of amazing. And for example, here sculpted in 3D Code, and then sculpted in Adobe Medium.
Yeah.
And then the most recent ones sculpted in Blender, and like you can't really tell. And that's when people say, like, you know, like the tool doesn't really make, you know, a difference really. Like it's more about the art.
Well, I always like my philosophy always has been, and it was mainly driven by the fact that like the pacing at my work is super crazy. Like it's not like super crazy, but at least like I have to do stuff very quickly. So I usually use a package for what it meant to do very good. You know, like let's say if it's a gestural stuff, I love VR. That's why I'm hoping once VR comes to Blender, it's going to be awesome as well.
It's there already, just a very basic state.
Well, I tried some builds. They are fantastic. I'm just like waiting till
for the real thing.
Like, yeah. So, and like again, like if Blender does very good stuff with displacement textures, I definitely always use it for rendering, you know. But saying that, I also feel like sculpting in Blender is getting better. I'm actually like a big fan of Pablo. He knows it. I told him a couple of times. Every time he does something on Twitter, I was like, "Oh my god, this is cool! I want it now!" And he was like, "No, you gotta wait." I was like, "God damn it!"
Pablo, I guess you get that a lot, Pablo.
Yeah, but if you know how to build Blender, usually the patches that are like the most important things. You can just apply the patch and compile it, and you can try.
Well, that's my problem. I'm not a technical guy. I don't even like if something is broken in Blender, I uninstall it, reinstall it, right?
like install Windows.
Yeah. Or if something still keeps being broken, I uninstall Windows and install Windows back. So I'm that kind of guy. Like I love artistic side of it, but when it gets too technical, like my brain just stalls. So that's why I bother you, right? Like, oh, Pablo, like,
such a different.
We can talk about this later, but
such a different art style. Now we're looking at your work, Pablo. That is completely different approach, right, from what Jama is doing with like mixing, using textures right after, like vector displacement and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically I don't use textures because when I learned 3D, like you know that the texture workflow in Blender is not the best. So it's like I avoided textures because I knew that if I use a texture, I'm going to lose this data.
Yeah.
So I learned to paint everything to vertex paint and vertex colors. So basically, I just use procedural materials and vertex colors.
Just procedural and vertex color, which is great because it means that you're gonna fix the vertex color, which you're already doing, by the way, right? There's a patch even available, and it's maybe Blender 2.9.
Hopefully 2.9.
Which means this summer.
I'm gonna whisper, I want it now. Give it
there's a patch, I guess.
Yeah. You can try it.
Someone needs to show me how to compile those.
Maybe that would be an interesting and maybe more fruitful live stream or just a video, make how to patch your own Blender.
Yeah. That would be very useful, at least for me, because every time I see these updates, I was like, damn, I can use it right now at work. But then obviously the build is not out there, and I just sit here.
So, Julian, is this a kind of workflow that you use? Because now we're seeing both two extremes. One is very texture-based, one is very like a vertex paint, like all procedural and vertex paint. Where are you in this?
I'm using everything at once. It's interesting. Like I'm fully on board with both of them. Like also like for example, what Pablo Dobarro is saying, that like it's a bit of a pain to texture paint right now because vertex painting got all of these nice little updates to the brush behavior and all kinds of stuff, and like more is coming, and it's generally just more like just easier to just paint vertex colors. But for example, for one of the characters I did, it's not even recently anymore, Rain for the Blender Cloud, I started out with just vertex colors for everything, added a bunch of procedural textures or like tile textures with cube mapping and stuff like that on top, and then added like an extra texture to just like paint in some details like freckles and stuff like that, and then just blend them all together. So just that ability to mix and match everything. Bless you. That's really helpful.
Awesome. So Pablo, is this something that you, like vertex color, do you see it replacing textures, or do you think it's still a future for both of them? Do you think textures are overrated? Can do everything.
There's a plan in the tracker, a design task, which is called the PBBH texture.
Oh.
That basically the future idea I talked with Greg about this is to implement texture painting inside the Sculpt mode. So basically, the exact same comb that is going to work on the new vertex colors and the new vertex paint brush is going to work in the texture paint implementation.
Yeah, it's basically just that the code is the same. So
yeah, hopefully the code for Sculpt mode, for vertex paint and for texture paint is going to be the same.
It's going to
That's
be
the final idea.
Wow. Okay, that is really pushing it, because even for making texture materials, everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Combining
the
substance with
final
Krita with
the final idea,
ZBrush.
the final idea, which I don't know if it's going to work or if it's something that should work in theory, is that when we create this PBH texture thing, you're automatically going to get everything about sculpting inside texture paint, and that means the new vertex color paintbrush with wet paint and flow and everything that's in that patch.
Everything.
The symmetry, the facets, the masking tools, everything should work in texture paint. And the future idea is that you should be able to use all the sculpting tools to sculpt displacement directly into the textures.
Sculpt displacement into the texture. You're hearing that, Jama?
Yes, I'm writing it down, man. I will be chasing Pablo every day.
Yeah.
Where is it?
That's the final goal for like what is used to be called in other workflows as high poly sculpting. It's like you should be able to sculpt the displacement directly into UDIM textures without needing to bake displacement for multi-res and all those kinds of things.
Wow. Jama, how do you have, is that your screen you're sharing over there?
Yeah, it's one of my newest studies. I'm probably the first person in this world who's actually using vector displacement map. So you can congratulate me. Yeah, I cracked the matrix. Like even ZBrush, like they don't use it that much. Like I was like, this is fantastic because it allows you. You see, for example, the detail over here.
Yeah,
Actually, it's not only height information. It goes in and there's a curvature in. I mean, probably this texture is not the best one to show it, but I have like very deep textures where you can actually go inside and there is not only vertical information, but side information as well. And this is where like, again, like this is completely my workflow. You know, I'm not pretending to be a 3D modeler or 3D sculptor because I'm a concept guy. What I need is a final picture. So how I got there, it doesn't matter. So most like this textures, they are like just projected, they're procedural, they're not like UV mapped or anything like that. But also I always try to think, okay, if I was doing this model with this amount of detail, like I tried it in ZBrush, for example, to have this fidelity of detail, your model needs to be around 70, 80 million polygons. That's a lot, you know, like imagine you have a bigger scene, it's just gonna be very, very slow. And as you can see, this scene is only 5 million polygons right now. The rest is done by textures. And that's why it's super fast. You see, like people always ask me, what's your rig? How much it takes to render? It renders almost instantly. You see?
Yeah.
Like I even have like here another example where it's in Eevee, you see? And in Eevee, it's even like crazy fast. So you get like try to sculpt all this stuff. Man, it's impossible. It would be impossible. And also for me, it's important. Like I can control the texture. I can move just the texture and reinforce my sculptures much better. And obviously this clay texture is just one of the cases, but I did pretty much the similar workflow. Did use pretty much the similar workflow with Jurassic World, where I would have a texture, a scale texture, and I will just move it around and see where, like, to find the right size that I needed. So for me, sculpting always like is juggling between how much I can push my details with sculpting and textures. But yeah, this vector displacement is fantastic. It took me a while to sort it out, maybe a couple of months, but now I'm so happy it works because you can see, like, especially on the nose here, it's just so deep and it's so realistic as well. So it's gonna be awesome.
Just because I'm curious, can you just go to the regular solid shading and show us?
Yeah,
it's
pretty smooth. Yeah, here we go.
Yeah, that's the comparison.
Wow.
But then obviously it's a combination of things. For example, if you look at this one, this is why I when I posted it, I said I sculpted this in Blender because I also started like developing some brushes that I use. So you see, it's actually pretty sculpted. And this is where probably I'm going to use my guest right to ask my first question here. maybe it's already out there, but I have to ask you something. Like I'm creating all these cool brushes. You see, I have this chisel brush, and I call it chisel brush, but it's actually like a fill scrape brush. But when I use it, it leaves these marks, which I like. When mixed with the texture, it creates some nice thing. But then I don't know, like, how do you save your brushes? Because like I know, like I mostly use 3D Code and obviously ZBrush. like in there you can just click on the button and you save your presets. Like I have no idea how to do it here. I mean, I'm pretty sure there is a way, but I guess we somehow need like a visual library where you
No, there's no way.
Asset manager.
No.
I mean, I've been like, I usually have like personally all my custom brushes in my startup file.
Yeah.
But you can import them into other files at least.
Yeah.
But
Gotcha.
yeah.
And obviously, like with textures, like I'm using like all these custom textures that I made, and obviously when I change them, I know you have to click on this button and it does this awkward thing, fake user. When I first read this before I watched the tutorial, I had no idea what this does. You know, you have to click on this and then it stores it in your Blender file. It's just, yeah, it's not very intuitive. We got to come up with a very solid interface or a menu where you save all your brushes, you have all your textures, you can swap between very quickly. I mean, all the ground is already here. It just, I know we're trying to unify it with everything else in Blender, but with the sculpting, it just doesn't work this way, because usually, like, I love sculpting in full screen mode, you know, when I can just click on the buttons and maybe right click, select something. And when you don't have it, your creative flow basically is getting interrupted, you know. It's not about, again, this is my personal preference. For me, amount of polygons, I don't care, because I can get away a lot with textures.
That's a very nice thing to hear. People are, I can handle a million, a gazillion.
Well, I can tell you about millions of polygons just comparing with something completely different, right? Like with Eevee, for example, people go like, oh my God, Eevee is so great. But when you go too high poly, it just becomes very slow.
Yeah.
And I go, guys, the good news, it doesn't matter what computer you have, what kind of software they give to you, you will still have very slow scenes, because people are greedy, right? People start using Eevee as Unreal, right?
Well, the same with cycles. Like the faster they make cycles, the more you make it busy, and
exactly,
it never gets faster.
Yeah, I have this Beast computer, which was the Beast computer 5 years ago, but I still was able to crash it and to kind of destroy it in terms of poly. It's just always like this. That's why I don't think like amount of polygons is important. There are occasionally cases where if you're working in production, like for example, the dinosaurs I designed for Jurassic World, they were obviously remade in ZBrush. Those models were like 5 gigs each, like they were gigantic, right? But in most commonly, what you need to do is be able to optimize your scenes, you know your limits and work with those, you know. Otherwise, like, it's just never ending loop. The more we get in terms of polygons, the heavier models will get. Again, people will start complaining. You know, it's just, that's why, like, I was like, okay, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I will know my limits, and if there's something that doesn't look great in terms of polygon, I will just swap to texturing, and that's it.
Textures. All right. That's good to hear. Pablo, you said you might have some goodies, as in, you know, people are never happy enough with all the things that you already spoiled us every day. If you guys don't follow Pablo Dobarro on Twitter, you're missing out. You can basically see the sculpt mode and texture and everything being developed like constantly. Like the moment there is a patch, there's always a link to a patch, a video, a description, everything.
Yeah.
So what's up for, like, it is on Blender 2.9, right? 2.83 is not even out, and this is 2.9, so expect crashes. Expect things to fail.
Let's make it crash.
Yes. Nice. So it's still Sculpt, it's still other areas. You're still happy with the sculpting? Hi, Mom.
The plans for 2.9 is basically the new vertex paint mode, and all the features that are going to be in all the vertex paint tools, and not the brushes, filters, color pickers, all those things.
Yeah.
But probably I'm going to add like some small features to Sculpt mode also.
Okay.
So basically, the main feature, main algorithm that I'm trying to write now is something to detect the depth on the empty space. So with this is the regular grab brush in any sculpting software.
Yeah.
But if you enable, you can grab from the empty space into the sculpt.
Nice. From the empty space. So anywhere where there's not a mesh, you can grab in, and you're basically like pulling.
Yeah, like your mesh is expanding over the whole viewport.
That's
Yes.
cool.
Nice. Ah, so it also works
And
the other
if
way around,
you-
so you can pull out from outside.
Yeah, it works. It's like if there were mesh over here.
Nice.
And if you use this brush, you can draw in the empty space. Let's keep it safe. And it should follow the silhouette of what you're drawing.
Wait, what? It is like a grabbing and drawing a
No,
shape.
I'm not grabbing.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a shape on the empty space, and the mesh is like trying to conform to that shape.
That's very interesting.
So yeah,
Okay. So you're drawing a shape.
that's basically the basics working of this thing.
Okay. How does it work in 3D though? Because you do it from orthographic and it kind of follows
No,
the shape.
it works
but then
on.
yeah. But
3D.
how does it? How is it? No, it's like drawing from view. Like it follows the. 3D
That's the hard
cursor,
part.
like- yeah, that's the hard part, I guess.
It's like trying to design an algorithm that works in a predictable way. You almost see that it's kind of guessing it right most of the time.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah,
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah, but the follow the depth is always tricky, even for like border zooming and anything in Blender. That
yeah,
It's
you
amazing.
can erase also.
erase even.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
You can erase from the empty space into the model.
How do you come up with this?
And
Like you have a roadmap for this? It's like you just use them and then it.
No, it's like
Just a
Basically,
mad
I
scientist
spent,
prototyper.
I spent a lot of time watching like live streams and tutorials and time lapses of other artists in any software basically, and I'm trying to guess why are they using the tools the way they do. So it's like I'm trying to design like the optimal tool to do that thing. And I know like the grab brush is often used to tweak the silhouette of a model.
Yeah.
And that can be optimized like this.
And you know what? That is amazing because this is not like looking at another software and hey, let's just copy that. It's like, hey, why is it even implemented that way? And that is super nice. That's why we have right click select and 3D cursor though. But on the other
Yes.
hand,
Yes.
That's cool.
I mean, there are good things and greater things.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you when you were sculpting it. Obviously, the mesh would get stretched, and then you obviously probably pressing Control R to remesh it, right?
Yeah.
Did you? So, I think that we just mentioned this before we started. Is it possible to implement voxels into Blender? Like where, because voxels can open a lot of possibilities in terms of cutting through and all this like stuff that 3D code has, obviously, which is, again, we're not trying to copy, but it's a
No,
fantastic
that's
tool,
planned.
We have a volume object now.
Yeah, but that's like we need a level set volume object, which is a subtype of a volume object.
Mhm.
And when we have that, it's possible to implement a sculpt mode based on voxels.
That would be great.
And if we want to support the sculpting in VR, it needs to be done that way. Because
Yes,
like
exactly.
this VR brush that adds material on top of anything,
Yeah.
that's a voxel implementation. That's not a tin top or
No,
something like
that is its own thing. And with voxels, you can basically, like, booleans become super easy, like Brecht was
Mhm.
mentioning in the last live stream. Right?
yeah. But
So
it's just studying the subtype of level set volume object.
cool. So you're saying it's coming, right? I'm writing it down as you say.
I mean, I don't know when it's coming, but it's something possible to do right now with a volume object. I mean, the hardest part is already there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Again, like with VR, it would be amazing to have it because that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to support VR sculpting, it cannot be done in any other way.
Which
You
we do
can
with
like enable VR in this scale mode, and it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah,
It needs to be done with voxels and with volumes.
Wow.
fantastic. I wrote it down. It's
Okay. Is there anything else that you
Yes.
would like to show us? These are two
Oh.
new brushes that are for 2.9.
Can I also get a question to Pablo Dobarro?
Of course.
I think I don't know if you have a file or a build or something, probably not right now. But what is the plan about the snapshots feature? Because that's something I'm actually kind of looking forward to. Because that's like sort of like a prototype that just kind of came out of nowhere for me.
The plan is basically to define a scope. I mean, like, what do you need out of this feature? The patch is really not that hard. In fact, the new layer brush is using the exact same thing as a snapshot to maintain the height of the layers.
Yes.
So we can just...
The most interesting thing that I saw in this feature was the possibility to go back in undo steps and then make a snapshot of the state of your mesh, go back forward in time, and then paint it back in.
When we fix the layer brush, the new layer brush, that is also going to be possible in the layer brush. Because you can store the depth of the previous state, and then just paint with the layer brush at 0 depth, and it's going to do the exact same thing. So you can use it that way, but not the best UX.
So hey,
it's always a workaround.
You gotta start somewhere, right? It's awesome. Yeah. Like every time I see it, it looks like the previous Blender version sucks so much. Like when you see it, like bad, good. It's awesome. Wow. All right. So that is all for the spoilers, I guess. Pablo, you got the answer question from the community too. Huh?
That's what I'm working on now. I probably have shown also, like the snapshots could also be merged in 2.9.
And multi-res was also added, right? Eventually.
Yeah.
Recently. Yeah. All right.
That's like the most important thing.
That is the most important thing. Let's go to the questions from the community. I'm gonna refresh this page for the last time. We almost got half an hour for questions. So okay, let's go. I ask you guys to ask Sculpt related questions, so I'm gonna focus on those. Thinking Polygons asks, just bring back the global brush palette. Why is it taking so long? Well, that a question I can answer, but just bring back the global brush palette. What do you mean? Like the previous one we had, not per.
They fix the brush management.
Yeah, which is
we know that brush management is not there, and we need to do something about it. In fact, that's a problem for 2.83 because right now with the new clay brush engine, I have a lot of presets in my library. That's often when people show me are sharing my Twitter videos, they show brushes that they can't get.
Yeah.
And I cannot ship those brushes in Blender because if you reset a brush, it's going to reset always to the same preset right now.
Yeah. So
that's becoming a big problem.
Yeah, the brush system needs to be fixed. And why is it taking so long? Because things take long. And also there are other priorities. Is this part of the asset manager in a way? Second question is, well, also dynamic topology is one of the best things in Blender. I would like to see it getting some love, especially on the performance side. But performance is the main issue on the topology just by nature of how the topology, right?
The problem is that I currently don't know if we can improve performance in a significant way on the current top implementation. That's basically. Because it's like, if it was the code, if it was written a different way, I would say like, yeah, we can improve performance at the same level as improving performance in other sculpting backends, like in meshes and in multi-res. But right now, it's like, I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. So next question. Thank you. Hello, Pablo. I guess it's to you. How satisfied is Pablo Dobarro with the Sculpt improvements in Blender? How satisfied are you? It's a hard question because you made everything, but just have some perspective because you only been working on it for like a year or so.
Yeah. Probably I would say like 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Yeah.
But wait, that you can fix this thing, so you be careful with what you say because you say like I'm gonna bring it to 10. It means that.
Yeah. I mean. There's still a lot to do and a lot of room for improvement. Like people are not probably aware of. Like there's, for example, the cloth brush. That's the basic, most simple implementation of a cloth solver, and this is just the first version. the room for improvement in that tool is insane. So it's like what you're seeing is like the pre-alpha version of the tools that are going to improve a lot over time.
Do you have other kind of physics-based brushes in mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Let's leave it there.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, hint, hint. Next question. What are your plans for manual retopology tools? Pablo.
Implement manual retopology in any way, basically. I mean, we just need to add the overlay and a few tweaks to snapping and to the polygon tool, and we should have something semi-decent, like the whole workflow implemented. And on top of that, I think we can start building new things.
The tools and stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Next question. What are your plans for Dying Topo? We already talked about it. And then, and just a little request. Can we have a shortcut Shift-O in Sculpt to change the fall-off type of the brush?
You should not be changing the fall-off type of the brush.
That's a good answer. Okay.
It's interesting with the new hardness feature how irrelevant the fall off types became.
Yeah,
right.
That the hardness feature was added. The main reason to add it was the paintbrush of Vertex Paint, but it can be useful for most of the brushes in Sculpt mode, so it's better keep it there for all the brushes.
I see. Next question. New brushes are coming soon. Yes, we already seen it. A new brush for adding meshes.
It's not a priority.
It's not a priority, but like I guess while in Sculpt mode to be able to add a sphere like primitives.
The idea is to have the switching between Sculpt mode and object mode as fast as possible.
Okay.
So you don't really need to add objects directly in Sculpt mode.
Or it could be like an operator from within Sculpt mode that actually what it does is just adds in object mode.
Yeah, but you can add better tools for adding objects in object mode. That's the point of having different modes. Yeah. And if switching modes to add new objects is instantaneous and it doesn't have to rebuild all the accelerator structures of Sculpt mode each time you switch the mode, it's a better thing to have everything organized.
Probably, yeah. And also if you have like the OpenVDV remesh modifier, also that you can add other objects in real time, is super awesome. There is a build actually here in Graphical by Bone Studio that had that. Next question, what will be the next features? We already sent this, the next features of Sculpt mode. And next question, when can we expect development on tools more realistic workflow, like extracting geometry as alphas for the draw brush?
That in particular, I don't think anytime soon.
Yeah, it's a whole texture baking thing.
Yeah.
Texture baking thing. Next question, what about texture painting in brushes? Krita live link? No, Blender's brush system needs love, because it's not only like if you connect with Krita, what about the rest of the side? If you fix it in Blender, then it means that you're gonna fix it for grease pencil, brushes in texture paint, weight painting with texture. Why not? I don't know. It has more benefits if you do it inside of Blender. Next question by Paul. Freestyle is Pablo. Freestyle is still slow. Crashes on complex files. Doesn't like fur leaves. Everything that we already know, that freestyle is slow. LandPR is frozen. Yes. Help NPR. It should move along with grease pencil SVG export, and yes. So yes, so all the things that we know, unfortunately, and the LandPR project is kind of slow at the moment. I know Yiming Wu, it was his birthday a few days ago, by the way. He mentioned that he, because of all the issues that are going on in China at the moment, he was a bit of he couldn't work on it much, at least for now. At the moment, I don't know what his plans are, but freestyle is also super slow, so I think that's not the way to go. You mentioned something though while we were having a chat, Pablo. We were having a chat.
Basically, the feature that you just saw.
Yes.
The final target of that feature is to do something with LandPR.
So the moving of the like in empty space to sculpt this mesh could be used potentially for moving lines in LandPR.
Yeah, that's the final idea of implementing the depth detection in the empty space.
Okay, that brings hope. Awesome. We are gonna have an NPR special, by the way. It's just a plug, selfish plug. Wednesday. We have 2 guests I'm gonna announce soon, but Wednesday is gonna be the NPR show. Next, I have 2 quick questions for both Pablos. Pablo Dobarro, B. Any plans to address Sculpt mode workflow and jumping within object mode? Sculpt mode, yeah, this is actually what we mentioned. It's really killing the mood when you have to switch each time. You want to add a mesh or extract one. So yeah, we actually just talked about it. Why Blender have frame rate capped to 60 FPS? You can put 120 and in Blender only shows 60. Yeah, it's tied to your, like the playback can go even further. I think it's tied to the refresh rate, but I don't know. Wouldn't know. Next question. Does Blender development team have any plans to implement proper IME for users from various countries? IME input method, maybe? I'm a Korean user and I have found many complaints. Okay, this is not really Sculpt related. I think Dalai mentioned something on Friday, so you can and Brecht also mentioned on Friday, so I would suggest there was some report, bug report regarding the Russian input, Cyrillic input, so maybe it's related to that. Next question, Pablo, again, you're like everybody, all the questions are going to you. I was inspired when the new mask and slice tool was developed. Is it one of the often needed tools? Although sometimes when sculpting hard surface is also often needed to cut geometry in a straight razor shaped line. Do you consider implementing similar to bisect tool to be added to the sculpting system? You know the bisect tool?
Yeah, I mean the current mask slice tool is just a workaround to be able to slice geometry until we have the Boolean, the new Boolean coding master. Okay. And then I'm going to add like the proper trimming tool that everyone expects and working exactly like everyone expects it to work. Like throw a rectangle and it just trims the geometry exactly there.
Ooh.
But in the meantime,
nice. Next question. Actually, VDB based Boolean operations will be awesome. Yes. OpenVDB as in volume. Next, I would like to hear if you're still considering the possibility to add a vector displacement brush in Blender.
Vector displacement brush is not a problem implementing it. The problem is vector displacement baking. I mean, we need to have a way to get the textures for the vector displacement brush, but implementing vector displacement brush is super easy.
You hear that, Jama?
Yeah, I wrote it down. It's a huge list already.
Making a list.
Yeah, I will be advocating for all of you guys. So for all of the people who are asking questions, I will double ask them because I have them on paper. But yeah, VDMs would be great because you can do a lot of things with those.
Yeah, but they basically are going to work like the current drag dot, I think is called. And that's easy to do. Problem is the baking.
Okay, I wrote it down. It's very easy to do. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Which it was possible in Blender internal, but not anymore. Next question. Congratulations and thanks for all the love you get with Blender. All of you.
Aww.
Yes, so here's congratulations to all of you. It's very nice. Everybody contributes in one way or another with development, with making tutorials, with making or from the development fund. I know, Jama, you are part of it, so thank you very much. Next question. Are you planning to touch texture paint workflow? Yes.
Yeah. The VH texture thing is like it's a proposal, but it's like it's the only idea I have right now, like to improve texture paint as fast as possible. Ooh. Because otherwise we would need to implement everything we have in Vertex Paint in the current texture paint code, and we don't even know if that code is going to support all the tools and all the. So yeah, it's not like one project that needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed projection, how the textures are managed, how the textures are projected, a lot of things.
Baking and then everything. Next question. So, okay, let's start with, it's actually for one for each of you. So let's start with Julian. What advice would you give to your younger self today? I mean, you're younger, right? But what to the
younger self? Younger as in when I started with sculpting, I guess.
Yes.
Or 3D. I think the main thing is like when I started sculpting and doing like 3D models, I did first like by making my own stuff, like from my own concepts, and it wasn't really looking good. So I started like just taking someone else's concept, asking them for permission, and just like sculpting that as closely representable as possible, and just getting the look right. But I was kind of beating myself up over that. Like I was like kind of feeling guilty about just not coming up with my own concepts.
Oh.
But I think the advice I would give is just like when you want to learn something, learn and practice something like one step at a time. Just if you want to try out a specific sculpting tool or like a workflow or anything specific, try practicing that first. Don't try to do everything at once. Like coming up with a good concept, that's a completely different task.
Yes. Okay. So try even copying at the beginning is fine. Even I would say recommend.
Credit the artist though.
Exactly. Oh yeah, of course. If you're gonna, especially if you're gonna share it. But I mean, if you're copying Bugs Bunny, you don't have to probably say thank you, Warner. But like for example, this is amazing. This is your this is based on a concept by the one and only. This one is I think is my favorite.
Which one?
Oh, sorry. It's the a concept by Guille Arancel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Super.
The mask. Yeah.
Super nice. How am I not following him? I forgot. All right. Yeah, super nice. But that is good advice. Okay, next question. This one for Jama. Where do you see Blender fit more in a large pipeline, or can be used as a central hub?
I mean, it's already there. It could be used. It depends on which department. Like I know a lot of like concept art community almost fully switched over to Blender right now. Like 90%, I would say, of people at least are like trying to, because we don't have any kind of restrictions in terms of big production. But then the rest of it, I mean, it depends on a lot of things. You know, it's not only the tool itself. It's also a lot of times it's the attitude and the mentality of people using it. You know, like you get a guy who used like another software for 20 years. It's hard to switch over, even though they see with naked eyes that like, hey, it's a much more revised and much more complete package. It depends on a lot of things. I think like technically there's a lot of obstacles as well. Like a lot of studios, they have pipelines based around 3ds Max or Maya. You know, they write a lot of tools and all that stuff. So for them, switching over to Blender is also technically quite tricky. But again, I'm seeing a very bright future for Blender. You know, it's just a matter of time. And I guess like it's also interesting with what happened with Blender recently was a big wake up call for other companies, because they realized they have to move forward. You know, like it's not only about like updating the whole architecture you had, and I love the way Blender 2.8 kind of you guys remade Blender from scratch. It looks like a completely new software. And that's what I think a lot of other competitors will do. But again, it depends on where you want to implement it into professional pipeline. As a concept artist, it's already there. It's been there 4 years ago when I started using it. And for the rest of the industry, it will come, like it will be implemented slowly.
It will. I think the steps we are taking, Blender is taking with USD, Alembic, OpenVDB, and everything, making it work with the rest of the pipeline. I think that is a very good first step. Yeah,
I could add something else. Yeah. Like I mentioned this like in the other stream I had before, and I think this is what keeps me very motivated and very like I love using like this software, that software. It's just I love Blender with the bottom of my heart, but I'm not in this kind of cult position, you know, like. Because I think the moment you become that, you become less objective, you know, because Blender has a lot of problems. Like sculpting has a lot of problems. Like, and we talked about those today, you know, like we got to have brush library and stuff like that. So even though I'm using Blender, I want to be, I want to be kind of motivating myself to use the tools that are like really good in Blender, and obviously pushing the rest. And otherwise, it becomes, when you're making this software as a cult, it just you become less objective. That's why a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people are so attached to other packages because they have the cult of that package, and it's just not productive. Tools are just the tools, and when you get people talented as Pablo on board, you get some amazing tools. So switching over is not a problem. It's just a matter of like keeping that attitude, and I think that's what some packages lost with time. They lost the passion to be pioneering things, and I guess like. Blender is doing a lot of pioneering things these days.
Nice, cool. Thank you for the advice. All right. So, what else? The last question by Dobarro. For Dobarro, do you have a clear roadmap for the future? I know you're planning on vertex color, attribute edit, but what about retopo and texture painting? We know texture painting. Retopo, it's been the first big part was done, right? For retopology?
More or less.
hey, the big chunk was done, and then there is more things to do regarding sculpting to sculpt the different levels, right?
No, that's multi-res. I think they're referring to retopo, like the polybuild tool.
Sorry, I said retopo. I was reading multi-res down here.
And like
retopology, there is nothing. No, okay, there is a vertex mapping. There's a bunch of add-ons, but yeah, no. So what about it? No, that is
the patch for the overlay. I think Jerome make the patch for the overlay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we require like some changes in the snapping system, and then I need to rewrite the polygon tool again to make something decent, because I think people are like trying to use the polygon tool right now as if it's like some kind of final thing or final product. And I just made that tool to learn how to use the gizmo system with Campbell. I mean, that tool was just an experiment, like to learn the code.
Yeah, you broke some hearts, man.
Yeah.
I think the polybuild tool, like it's just it's like a lot of new tools, like they can be a bit clunky at first, a bit hard to use, but like I was experimenting, and actually if you use right-click select, it's kind of easy to use it because the selection is decoupled from left-click. So you got all the functionality of the polybuild tool while still being able to select, extrude, and all doing all kinds of other stuff at the same time. So that's like, I guess, the optimal workflow that I found out how to use it.
Yeah, but I mean, that tool is not like the UX of that tool is not polished at all.
Yeah.
It's like it was like just a code experiment to have the basis working, and that's it. So basically, we need to build retopo tools from scratch when we support retopo.
Next,
I mean, retopo flow is a nice example of like,
yeah,
I guess what is like way up there.
When you spend years working on only one aspect. I think it's amazing.
Yes.
It's an amazing add-on, and they are even willing to collaborate with the Blender developers to actually bring some of that into Blender, which is super nice to do. So, thank you, Retopo Flow. And then there is a request for me. Can you do it? How to Blender about multi-resolution versus subdivision for sculpting and animation? Coming to Blender, I thought multi-res is for sculpting only, while subdivision is for modeling and animation playback. No, you can do both. You can use it both. Okay, thank you. I will keep it in mind. How to Blender is a series I do in another channel because I don't have enough Blender channels. So, and question: Why Blender doesn't have unlimited undo steps like other apps? It can't even handle 64 steps right now. So I think the whole undo system it's long overdue to be fixed.
Let's just fix the first one, the first undo you do,
undo,
and then we would talk about
yeah.
infinite ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually, you know what? I stopped using undo and it feels good because every time I use it, I struggle. I like my mind just breaks, and it almost became like a traditional media, like you're drawing with pencil. Just don't use undo. That's my strategy now.
That's actually that's my feeling. I when I started using Blender, there was no undo. Then they added one undo, but it was still really bad. Literally, there was one undo step. nothing else. But before there was none. And it's just, you just don't use it. You just, okay, this number was 5, and then you press 12, and it's like, okay, I just type 5 again. So it's a bit slow, but actually once you get used to it, it's anyway. That being said, the undo system is being worked on. There is currently an implementation being tested. It's experimental, but basically if you go to the preferences on your latest Blender, you go to experimental. If you don't see this tab here, you have to enable it from interface, developer extras. It's off by default, so you might not see it. Enable the developer extras, and then go to experimental, and then click on undo speed up. Once you click this on, you have to save the file where you were working on. Make a copy, please, just in case. And then open Blender, close Open Blender again, and just test it. Let's see how it goes. It's still experimental, so maybe you don't see any benefits, maybe you see a lot of benefits. It's really case by case. You can click on this here, and it should open a browser with the task where you can see all the assignment by people, and you can give your feedback on how it's going. So it is being worked on. Next, any news on key mesh?
Ooh.
No.
No.
For the same reasons the Chris Pencil developers explained in the last live stream.
Yes.
Because there's no animation developer only focusing on animation and designing the animation, at least right now.
There is actually, well, maybe not full time, but I think it's 2 days a week that Sybren Stuvel, the Dr. Sybren, is working on it. He's also working on USD and Alembic import export. It's part of that. I think he's jumping between the two. But yeah, that is there are the developers. So maybe we can get together next week. We can do a live stream with Sybren and with you, and maybe
basically all the sculpting part of the key mesh project. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing that needs to be modified in the sculpting part. It's more like animation project for animation developers than from. I can design the tools, but they are going to be just like any other sculpting tool.
Okay. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, you will probably add everything into sculpting tool. So Blender will be one sculpting tool. Next question, any news on the blueprint? We already talked about it. Hi, Pablo. No. Will you start a new series of video focus on the Blender API? Wow. Well, maybe we can do an an API special. 5 people watching live. Next, Blender is an open source project. I think it will be very crucial, enabling more people possible to work inside the Blender code. Yes. Actually, yeah, that's a very good idea. Thank you. Frostcrack Studio asks, can Blender get the simple renaming panel add-on in Blender? It lets you rename multiple names in Blender at the same time. Multiple names. We have already a tool for that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the batch renamer.
Yeah. Oops, it's Alt F2, Control F2, Control F2. It's like the batch rename. So I think we should just fix this thing instead of making it an add-on. And the add-on developer also, it's actually open source. It's in GitHub.
Yeah, I mean the add-on, I used it at some point. It has some extra nice features, but it can just be added to the batch renamer.
Yeah,
like just some extra stuff.
Exactly. So if you're looking at this, Wales, Matthias, why not, fixing this guy? This is also Python. It's not everything is pure C, so it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be scary. Next question. Hi guys, greeting. Oh, actually we are on time, so let's do 5 more. I hope you guys don't have anything else. if you have to leave, I understand, but let's do 5 more questions super fast. Greetings from Austria. Is there something in the Sculpt section that needs to be refactored? I guess they're asking Jama. No.
So
Pablo, anything that it needs to be refactored? I think we lost him.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh no. All right. That's the answer.
Oh yeah, we lost
this one is for the community. I would love to. Oh, he came back.
He's back.
All right.
Yes. Maybe. Yeah. We got him.
You're back.
Okay.
Anything that needs to be refactored, as in rewritten.
Symmetry and multithreading.
Oh, okay. Symmetry, I understand multi-threading. I'm very excited about it.
I can explain you. Like the problem right now is that in symmetry, the left and the right stroke, for example, first the right stroke get applied to the mesh and then the left. But we can refactor that to be like both strokes processed at the same time in multi-threading.
That's both something, of them.
Yeah, at the same time. That's something that can be done for a lot of brushes.
So it's literally twice as fast.
But for a lot of brushes, it should not faster, but if you know, like the main performance issue with Blender right now when it comes to sculpting is that it sometimes the brush stroke stops and jitters for a moment and then continues.
Yeah.
That's because it needs to sync the threads at some points in the code. So the more synchronization points we remove, the faster, the less, not faster,
the less
but
jittery
is going to go away, I hope.
All right. This one is for the community. Total Blender opening redesign. Hey, what's wrong with the opening? I kind of like it, but yeah, it would be nice if you guys come up with something. Next question, number 4. Any news about the secondary window improvement? It is not sculpting related, but not that I know. Okay, this one is sculpting related. Is the sculpt brushes resetting on each update requirement going away after 2.83? No. Right.
That's something for the asset manager brush management problem as a whole. So, yeah, that's something that should not be happening, and all we talk about.
With XR implementation on the way, is on the air sculpting planned? Are you interested? Do you even have a VR headset?
I have a Vive, so it's not.
Is it something fun for you? Have you tried other apps?
Yeah, Beat Saber. That's it.
Yes. Beat Saber. That is so popular in the studio. Yeah. There are Beat Saber sessions after lunch.
For VR sculpting, we need the level set sculpting in the volume object, because otherwise it's going to be impossible to implement something semi-decent.
But is that something they will be interested even in doing?
If I have to work on something, I think it's more important for me to design texture paint and vertex paint and all those things that we are sculpting right now. But it's like, if I have free time, or if I have something that can be done in a couple of weeks, I can try to do it.
Awesome. Next question, number 3. Sculpt layers, are they in the roadmap?
Probably yes. In fact, I think we should try to have sculpt layers as soon as possible before trying to do something like with multi-rest directly affecting the shape keys, because then it's going to be like a new UI confusion, a huge UI problem, because you're going to have shape keys and layers which are fundamentally the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something we need to have a plan soon.
All right, number 3. Can we export the video sequencer and play? Okay, it's not really. Let's try to keep it sculpt related. Since Pablo worked a bit on the polybuild tool, could you please take a look at it again in the future? Already mentioned, and then some suggestions in how it should work. Let's try to answer all the volume sculpt using VDV under the hood.
Yeah, that's the plan for level set sculpting.
They want to see Julian's cat, Pixel. She's not the most friendly cat. All right, and the last question, because we are already running out of time. My question is also for Pablo. Smooth brush nowadays has the red color, white before, but if you are in any other brush, holding shift will make use of the smooth brush. Why doesn't the brush color change? Is that a bug? The brush color change?
I can make it change, but I don't know.
No, I would much rather have you working on texture paint. But yes, it's a little little bug. All right.
Yeah.
And now I have a question for all of you. So let's start. I want to know what you guys are doing. What you guys are working on. like currently. I wonder before leaving. Jama,
Yes.
what are you doing these days besides quarantine at home?
I can't tell you really. I'm just working on some NDA projects, but
Ooh.
also, actually, it's funny that like beginning of this year, even though I do some freelance work, I decided just to do sculpting. I know it sounds romantic, but I was like, I wanted to learn this properly for a long time, right? So yeah, I've been just sculpting. I've been
doing
trying
great,
all
by
of
the way.
them, like doing Blender stuff, 3D code, ZBrush, just trying to again, like I'm trying to be very open-minded and trying to see what those like some tools are made for certain things. Like if you're talking about voxel modeling, obviously it's 3D code, but instead of being unobjective and just attached to something that I like, I decided, okay, I gotta just experiment with things, and yeah, I've been doing that, and as you see, I got a lot of results out of those. You know, I've been doing a lot of Blender and then texturing and then 3D code.
It always evolves around the concept.
It does actually, because I always felt like the concepts I did with sculpting were very rushed, right? Like I would do a lot of painting on top to make them presentable, but these days I think I'm hitting a point where my sculptures, they look quite good, like quite presentable. So ideally I would love to do a lot of like proper sculpting towards the end of this year, but I'm still learning. So
Oh wow!
that's
If you say you're still learning,
that's my roadmap.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Any trainings coming up?
Well, I'm gonna share this claim textures that I've been doing, because a lot of people were like, I mean, some of this clay textures, they look almost like a cheat. You know, someone told me, "Oh, you do a crap sculpture and you put this nice texture and it looks amazing." I was like, well, if it saves you time, that's what it's meant to do, right? So,
hey.
But obviously, again, it's just an icing on the cake. I think like textures, I make them look traditional because, again, when I'm doing like a lot of concept work for clients, because I'm not a decent 3D sculptor or 3D modeler, I can't push my details so to the level that it looks super presentable. So I gotta stylize it somehow, and that's why like stylizing and making it look like clay makes it more believable in a way.
Yeah.
So I can concentrate on what I'm good at, which is just ideas, you know. But yeah, I'm saying like I have the roadmap. I'm still learning, but I want to get it to the level where I can do like really highly detailed sculptures in the future.
Wow.
And obviously the tools in Blender are getting better, so hopefully I can push those as well.
Nice. So your roadmap is learning.
Yes.
Awesome. Great. And the things we cannot see, which we'll probably see in the cinemas at some point in the future.
2 years. If we still have cinemas, but in two years.
Geez. Well, now everybody's releasing online anyway. Disney just released all the latest Pixar on Disney Plus and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But I can say something very positive. Again, it's positive with a negative note though. Like in my country, we had almost 6 years of civil war, and I was in my high school when it happened. And I remember I used it very wisely because I was studying. I went to this school where I just knew, because it pretty much resembled me to the situation we have right now. You know, it's just empty streets, tanks everywhere and stuff.
Gee.
But I knew that's a good chance for me to learn, and I just studied like crazy, and it paid off because I was using that knowledge a lot. So any one of you guys listening and getting depressed by coronavirus, which is a very depressing thing, but at least you're staying at home, you've got a lot of time to learn. Just use your time wisely, you know.
And it's not a tank. It's a virus.
Well, it's still very scary. It's very scary.
It can kill
so
you,
I wouldn't minimize the threats from the virus. It's very serious. But I would use this time very wisely.
Yeah.
You know, don't get discouraged. It should motivate you to learn new stuff, and it's the best use of your time right now. I think that's my policy. That's what I'm doing.
Thank you very much for your message, for your time. What about Julian? What are you doing these days?
I mean, in the recent months, we started working on another open movie project called Coffee Run. So I've been kind of involved from the start now, like doing all kinds of modeling and trying out some of the new sculpting features here and there from time to time, trying to integrate them into the pipeline. But also just being the regular crash test dummy of the studio, just giving feedback.
Well, you have this stylized character workflow, and that it's insane. It's crazy. These last episodes about the topology, they're just
I wrapped it all up. The videos are all online, so they're ready to get published. Because there's an entire second part to the retopology section, like 22 hours of time lapses.
What? So
that I had.
Second part of the 22 hours more of this.
Yeah, the fourth chapter of my tutorial series, the course Stylized Character Workflow. We already released the fourth chapter, which has like the main lessons in it.
Yeah.
But I was still working on the last videos, which are all the time lapses that are edited together. So there's going to be a bunch of commentated time lapses, like 22 hours, and then just like condensed by speeding it up. But yeah, that's going to be exciting. So that should hit the Blender Cloud this week.
Wow, awesome. Any personal projects? Or this is probably taking all your time and
little personal projects here and there, but nothing finished. I really need to... I feel kind of lazy. Also, I skipped the Sculpt January this week, this year, which is not very nice.
Hey.
But yeah, I hope I can do some personal projects soon, especially with the new features that are coming in.
Awesome. Pablo Dobarro. So what are you doing these days? Any besides, I mean, we can see on Twitter already how active regarding coding. So these days, what are you doing? More coding than art? More art than coding? How are you dealing with this?
These days, I think way more coding than art, unfortunately.
Because you're preparing for some.
Because the Faceit the Faceit patch was problematic. Let's say there's a lot of UX polishing that needs to be done, and a lot of fixes and small tweaks that I'm constantly working on. And yeah, this last day is basically designing an algorithm for depth detection for these brushes.
Oh, nice.
Display brushes.
So how about the report, the feedback that people have given you? Is it you're happy with it? You wanna call for feedback? You want to tell people to chill and don't report bugs anymore? You had enough for the next month?
Regarding the feedback, it's like currently all the feedback I'm getting about sculpting has the same structure, which is, oh, this feature is so nice. Here you have the list of buttons that you missed from this software. This feature, this feature, this feature, and this other feature. So please add all those missing features from this software to make this feature exactly like the one of this software. And it's like, I know how that other software works. Like everyone knows it. And even if you're not mentioning it explicitly, I also know that you are suggesting the features from the other software. So it's like, that's not the way to give feedback about features.
Yeah.
In fact, I spent a lot of time like watching videos, tutorials, and time lapses and courses and a lot of documentation for a lot of artists for basically any art style to understand what features are they using, how are they using them, and why those features were added to those softwares. And that's where the features that in Blender that were added to Blender, that when I posted on Twitter, people like, go, this is crazy, like the clothes brush or the pose brush and all those things. Those features were not like features, were not from feature requests. They were done like analyzing the workflows of so many people.
From your own research.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Fantastic.
they are like copy a tool for other software because you want to use Blender like it was that software, but Blender is never going to be like that other software. So there's no point of doing that. Obviously, the other software is better at being that other software. So
yeah. Also, because Blender has so many different workflows that it's hard, right? It's like I guess when you're doing ZBrush, you're not worrying about the animation side of things.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
the grooming side of things. Well, in Blender, you have to.
Exactly. The features I'm adding are things that, as I said, like the first version and the alpha version of a feature.
Yeah.
So probably what you're saying about the Faceit, that feature, the way art is designed and the way the operators are designed are with texture paint in mind and with vertex paint in mind. In fact, the faces are going to be rendered as lines, not as colors. The current color visualization is just for like debugging because it's easier to tell the difference between the sets if you're rendering them this way.
But it would be lines. like
Yeah.
edges, like edge marks or seams.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, if you want to help the Sculpt mode development, the best thing you can do is like to record full videos of your process using these tools. So like we can understand if the UX is working correctly. Maybe you are using the tool for something we don't originally consider, and it can be optimized in some kind of way to help you like do your work better, but not like listing missing features.
Exactly. So you hear
Yeah.
it. And the best way to give feedback is, instead of just saying, hey, it's great, but it's missing this from X software, is to just record yourself in a short video. Don't do a 3-hour live stream.
You can do a 3 hours live stream. I'm going to see.
Just
Don't
upload
say
your
that.
time
People are
lapses.
going to send you full.
I mean, I'm
Like a
watching those
movie.
videos constantly. Like,
Okay. Well,
it's
you're probably
insane the amount
good
of
at,
hours that
skipping. But the best way is to just record yourself using that software, and just so it can be like studied in a way that, okay, this UX, this user experience is wrong, or is bad, or is too slow, or you end up doing this process 20 times. That can be fixed. That's what you mean.
exactly.
All right. So Jama, prepare those videos, please.
No, I can tell you one thing. I can sleep well now. I think like Blender Sculpting is in good hands. I love what Pablo said.
Awesome.
Exactly, I agree with what he said. You know, like yeah, you got to get some essential stuff sorted out, like brush libraries and stuff like that. But then there's a chance to pioneer, to do new things. You know, why would you do the similar thing that you already have, which probably is done much better in ZBrush or somewhere else? You know, yeah, that's what I felt about Clove Brush. I was like, this is great, fantastic. I want more of those. And I think like I know the way Pablo does it. He's kind of mentioned that he analyzes, which I do believe, but part of me thinks like Pablo opens his windows, looks outside, and there's like a God ray coming and shining on his face, like ooh, you know, and then I need to do this brush, right? Because they look fantastic. That's how I feel about like Clove Brush and the others. And thank you very much, Pablo.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for staying here until so late. It went way over an hour, but I think it's worth it. I loved having this kind of feedback from the art side, development side, from the community. I think it's a really nice live to rewatch again and study all this. I think it's super nice. Thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Yeah,
for being here. It's been a pleasure. The community. Tomorrow I'm gonna have another show. I'm gonna have I'm gonna have Daniel Bysted. I'm gonna have Andy Goralczyk from the Blender Animation Studio, or Blender Studio. Rebranding again. So it's gonna also be very interesting. So I'm gonna say goodbye to you guys on the live, and then I'm gonna say goodbye to everyone. Say again, thank you, and maybe we can do this again sometime, right?
Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye bye.
All right, so we're alone again, in the dark. Not in the dark, in the light. The light of all the amazing work these people are doing. They're contributing to Blender in so many ways, like giving feedback. The feedback is so important because software is made by contributions from like inspiration. Everything gets down to inspiration. Developers get inspired by artists. Artists see like the crazy developers' ideas they have, and that's the best. It's not it's just the way to develop Blender. Remember that most of the features that you see are developed this way, you know, like making an open movie and getting the developers and artists together. For so many years this has been proven to work. So you heard Pablo. Go give your feedback with actual like videos from you using it. That is the best feedback. Thanks again for staying until the end. It's been another amazing Blender every day. Let's do it again tomorrow, same place, same time, for another hour of quarantine, but chilling in a good way. Thanks for watching. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See you tomorrow, same place, same time, for another Blender every day. Bye-bye.